Hi guys, and welcome to this video with me, John, or Junior. If you're new to the Live Traders Club in the past kind of week or so, this week we're only going to be doing the evening webinars. Mark is away, so I'll be covering the webinars this week, and I'll be providing you with a video every day of kind of where I think the market's at. Any kind of trading opportunities and anything like that, essentially. And you know, in the videos I'll be talking about trade ideas, all that kind of good stuff. In the members room we'll be talking about trading opportunities as well and trade ideas. So I'll keep you up to date as and when I see opportunities. Obviously this week might be a little bit flat. I haven't really got a lot on my watch list that I'm really taking in this week. We're in a couple of trades that I want us to kind of manage this week, so we'll take a little look at those as well. You know, last week I had about 16 pairs on my watch list. This week I've got, you know, about 5 or 6. So we'll take a look at the major pairs as we always do, and we'll break down from there. Now, this week, you know, it's very important when we start the week and when we're looking to do a form of watch list, is we look at the news that we have this week. And, you know, immediately that's standing out to me, we have RBA meeting minutes at 2:30 in the morning, Tuesday. Now, we are in 2 trades that involve the Australian dollar, so we really need to be looking by this evening to manage those trades. So we'll cover that in this evening's webinar, but we will have to manage those trades at some point. At the moment, you know, we are seeing that Aussie strength, which I am going to cover as well, but you know, we're about 1% across the board up at the minute, so I really want us to be able to at least lock in some money, or at least move our stops to break even, so we walk away with you know, at least the worst outcome would be break even when the RBA meeting minutes occur. So we'll go through that. Another important day on Wednesday, we have the inflation report hearings for the Great British Pound. So again, we'll take a look at the pound dollar. We are in a pound trade as well. You know, this does look fairly bearish for the Great British Pound at the moment. You know, it's not very good with Brexit news and all that kind of stuff. Nothing's looking very bright for the pound at the moment, apart from the fact that they hiked interest rates. Okay. What else do we have this week? So again, Wednesday is going to be a pretty heavy day. At 7 p.m. we have the FOMC meeting minutes. You know, again, this carries on from kind of what happened last week or the week before. They're just talking about, you know, or updating what's happened in that meeting. Sometimes the minutes can be surprising. Some things that may not have been talked about get released in the FOMC meeting minutes. Same with the RBA meeting minutes as well. But other than that, you know, it usually kind of stays a little bit stale, but it's something we have to be aware of. Okay, German manufacturing PMI, this will affect the euro on Thursday. Again, we are in a euro trade as well, along with the ECB account of monetary policy meeting. So again, 12:30 Thursday is going to be massive for our euro trade if we're still in it at that point. Okay, so we need to be looking to definitely manage our trades that we're in at the minute, because we're in pound Oz and we're in euro Oz currently. Okay. Again, the dollar's going to be impacted again this week on Friday. We don't typically trade on a Friday all that often, apart from obviously, you know, we had pound Oz trigger on Friday, euro Oz triggered the day before, but you know, kind of moved on Friday. So Fed Chair Powell speaks. This is going to be a bit of a mover, but by 3 o'clock on Friday, we shouldn't really be looking to take anything with regards to the dollar. Now, if we're going to be taking any CAD trades this week, it's interesting to note that on Saturday, we've got the Bank of Canada Governor Polos speaking as well. So this is, you know, rarely we see central banks governors speaking on a weekend. So this is something that if we open our charts on Sunday and see the open, we might get some gapping on the markets, especially with the Canadian dollar. So something to just note down and be aware of. So immediately we've got Oz news, then we've got pound news to contend with, then we've got euro news, and eventually leading on to obviously our dollar moves as well. So heading over to our charts, I always take a look at the major currency pairs before even, going through any of the cross pairs when looking at the markets, especially taking a look at the dollar index, where it's at, what's happened over the week, and what do we expect to happen. So I'm just going to move up to the weekly chart and just take a look at the overall state of the market. And you can see that we are quite clearly making those higher highs and higher lows. If I just bring up my screen sketch again, you can see that we were in a large downtrend at this point. We've now broken out of these previous structure highs where the market was finding a little bit of resistance in this zone through here, and we've now broken above. So what we should be looking for is the dollar to continue those long opportunities into the next resistance levels, and we have a little bit of a level at $98. There's one at $97.30 which kind of brings in these lows as well, so just be aware of that. I'm looking for a bigger move into this $98 area. Now what's interesting is the price action. So I'm just going to remove all the ink. Now, usually we've got this kind of high test bearish candle. So after seeing something like that, I do expect the market to maybe pull back a little bit. So we could see the dollar continue to fall back into the $94, $95 area before continuing that push to the upside. Be nice as well to see the 20 moving average come through there at that point, and we get like a nice little bullish low test or something there, and then see the momentum continue to the upside. So we've got a nice little test coming up for the dollar, and I expect this week maybe to see a little bit of a push lower. So if we expect that on the weekly chart, on the daily chart, you'll be seeing these sorts of swings just coming back down into these areas. Now the weekly chart is still in the uptrend, we may see it starting a phase 2 pullback. So if that's the case, then you will see a little bit of a downtrend on the daily chart, but just be aware that largely that weekly is in an uptrend. Okay, it's very difficult to trade the phase 2s. So just jumping down to euro dollar, that was our euro dollar trade just down in there, and again you can see we're currently in that phase 2. So the market has pulled down into this area of support around here at that 1.13 area, nice psychological number, and we've started to pull back. The bulls have started to take over in the market. It's creating this nice low test. Largely we are still in that downtrend, so the market is making those lower lows, lower highs. We've created a new lower low, so technically we are only in a potential phase 2 in this market. So if we were taking any trades, it would be counter trend trading, it would be one-to-one targets only. Okay, so where do we expect the market to come to? Now we always look at our resistance and support levels. Okay, so the market's in a phase 2 here. Where do I expect the market to go? All the way back to this resistance level up here. So the 1.1510 is a nice little area where the market has been testing recently and has rejected from. So again, we've pushed through that level now. We've closed below. We've tested this 1.13 support, and now we're making our way back into this 1.1510 area. Now, if we just jump to a 4-hour chart, there's some potential for some counter trend trades to occur. Now we are in euro short, so euro might not be the best one to trade against the US dollar at the moment, but again, all the same principles apply. We've had this market move lower, creating lower highs, lower lows. Now we're in a different condition. The market is now creating higher highs and higher lows. So what we could see is the market test around these previous structure highs just through there, and then continue its move to the upside into that 1.1510 area. So something to be aware of, something to watch on euro dollar essentially. We are in euro short trades as well, so we need to be aware that this is going to occur. The reason that I'm sticking with those Aussie trades at the moment is because Aussie looks to be the strongest currency in this phase 2 at the moment, so we just need to be aware of where it's at and what could happen. But anything breaks this CTL on a 4-hour chart, a nice close above the 20 moving average, we could potentially look for some one-to-one long trades back into this 1.151 area. Okay, so heading down to the pound, we are in a pound short as well. The only reason I'm sticking with the pound short again is because the phase 2 on this isn't really as sharp as what I was expecting. We've come back into this big weekly level. So if I just jump back to the weekly chart again, You can see this nice weekly level. Again, we've had a bit of a low test candle in there, not a bullish one, a bearish one, and the bulls didn't manage to close very positive. The bears pushed it back down and closed it negative for the week, which isn't the greatest of signs. Usually after a candle like that, we see a little bit of consolidation rather than a huge push up. But again, we've got that phase 2 scenario. Where is the market likely to come back to? And it's an area of support or resistance. And if we look left, there's a little bit of resistance just hanging in here around the 1.2780 area, just with this support, resistance and support just in there. So we could see the pound just edge its way back up into there, and that makes good for potential good intraday trades, to be honest, with a nice little consolidation. The only problem is the market hasn't created a higher high at any point on the 4-hour chart, so I'll be less inclined to take anything on this market, although it is nice to see that the market is kind of holding around this level. Typically we would see a push higher. So if you are an hourly trader, you could look for the higher high to be created, a pullback in, and then a 1-to-1 risk to reward up to this 1.2795 area, or this 1.28 at least, because if I just drop that in there and you get you get your stops underneath there with the 24-25 point stop, at least you've got a potential 1.75 to 1. Because it's counter trend trading, I'd only be targeting a 1-to-1 at that point, and it'd look something like this. So that's likely to happen if we do break these higher highs in there. So if you want to set some alerts on pound just above 1.2755 area, then that could be something you could look to do. Nice break above, close below, close above, break back down, retest, and then look for the trade higher. So you could be looking for something like that on pound. Let me just go back to the daily charts. Let's head lower again. So Aussie. So we're in Aussie. Again, lots of members posting about that we're coming up into an area of resistance again. And yeah, absolutely. The reason we look to take the trades that we have on Aussie is because it came into this support area just down in here around that 0.72 with a 127 extension as well. So that to me looked like the more obvious trading markets to participate in. And you can see that we're pushing back. We are in a downtrend largely, and we are in a phase 2 pullback currently. If I just jump to the 4-hour chart, you can see that we are making those higher highs, higher lows at the moment, but we do have a resistance up here at 7,340. So I have my alerts set around here, and we'll look to manage our Aussie trades accordingly. Obviously, we've got the RBA meeting minutes as well. Could that drive the market a little bit higher overnight as well? If we look at, or if you look into commitment of traders, you can see that there is some specs buying the Australian dollar at the moment, so that could be another factor to look for with some potential long opportunities. If we just jump to the weekly chart, we have moved a very long way on the weekly chart, and some buyers came in quite aggressively last week, pushing it higher, so we could see a little bit of a rally out of Aussie at the moment. Okay, so this kind of goes to what I want to go to on Aussie yen as well, but we'll come to Aussie yen in a little bit. Kiwi, again, we're just in the phase 2s again. We need to wait for the start of phase 1s to occur with the US dollar major currency pairs. Looking at the 4-hour, I like the idea of potentially taking some long opportunities. We've taken out this high over here, this high, and this high in there. Now we're kind of retesting the moving averages. So we could see some potential moves up into this 6-7 resistance level, which is taken from the daily chart and those lows in there. Again, we had that 127 extension come into play, and the markets moved back up. But largely we are in a downtrend scenario, so until kind of major highs get taken out, we still have to take these markets as a downtrend, that we should be looking for the phase 1s to come back into play. But with that as well being said, we have to look at some potential phase 2 moves if we're going to capture anything this week on our major currency pairs. And to me, phase 2 is the most difficult to trade, so that's why I only target those 1-to-1 risk rewards, because they're more likely to occur than a 2-to-1 and 3-to-1 on your counter trend trades. Okay, Dollar CAD, very interesting. We're working with this channel. We're still kind of sticking to this channel. We came back into this 1.3, 150 area and sold off quite aggressively. Again, if we just look at the 4-hour chart, what I like about the 4-hour chart currently is the fact that we have this larger double top in play. So big move, there's your double top. Now we're kind of sitting back at this neckline. So it'd be interesting to see if we take this neckline out. If we take this neckline out and we get some nice lower low, lower closes, you can see that our retracement candles at the minute are quite small. So we could expect further downside. It could be likely to look for a pullback back into the 1.3s, sort of 1.3060, and then trade it back into these structure lows just down there. Or, you know, if we stretch the trend line out a bit further, we could look for those moves down a little bit further. So I like the idea of potentially selling dollar CAD. You know, oil's at this big weekly support as well. So if oil gets a boost, we could potentially see dollar CAD lower as well. So one to be aware of. Lots of kind of strong sellers in this market at the minute. Weekly chart doesn't look great. We are in that uptrend still on the weekly chart. So again, you're technically trading a weekly phase 2 at this point, but on the 4-hour chart, you might be able to get away with a nice 2-to-1 risk to reward at least. Okay, if we get a nice break below that neckline. Dollar Swiss, I'm sticking with. I'm not doing anything with it at the moment. You know, I think we could get a push back into this 1.0050 area where the market has rejected numerous amounts of times before. But this is just showing a little bit of Swiss weakness. Everything else is kind of, you know, a little bit stronger than the dollar over the past few days. But Swiss hasn't really made its mark. So we could see some Swiss weakness. And that's what largely I'm looking at this week, to be honest. A little bit of Swiss weakness, especially against our commodity-based currencies like New Zealand and Aussie and Canadian dollar. So we'll just jump to dollar yen. It's very messy at the minute. Nothing really occurring on dollar yen for me. You know, last week we took a couple of yen strength trades, and that proved to be pretty good. So we could see that strength continue to the downside this week, you know, but I need to see more evidence of that. I need to see some cleaner cycles coming out of these markets for me to even take any sort of short trades. I think now for me, I need to see a break below this low just in there. So if I just move this black line down there so you can see, I need to see a break below that before I get interested in any kind of dollar yen shorts, down maybe back into these 1.07s. But for me right now, nothing really to do on dollar yen. So Euro Oz is moving pretty okay at the minute. You know, we're coming back into these structure lows potentially. My only concern obviously is the RBI meeting minutes. I don't want us to, you know, get rolled over because we're, you know, being greedy and we're looking for this 2.7 return down into that 1.5460 area. You know, it's very easy in trading to be like very stuck in your rules. But if the market tells me to get out, then we need to get out. Okay, so by the end of tonight, you know, if it looks like this, or if it at least takes out these 4-hour lows and closes below, which would be absolutely fantastic at that point. You know, if it does do that, happy days. But if not, I'll be moving kind of stops to break even, maybe taking some money off the table. But obviously, I'll make you aware of that before I do that. But yeah, essentially, if it takes out this low in there, I'll be happy just to move stops to break even and just let this sort of play out, take a little bit of money off the table. Okay, so looking at what we're kind of been looking at last week. Euro Swiss, I like the idea of it coming back a little bit higher. I have alerts set around the 1.1430. Again, I think Swiss is going to be a little bit weaker this week. I'd like to see this pull back into the 1.1430s and then continue its way to the downside. You know, very clean setup here. You can see the phase 1, phase 2, phase 1. Now we've got the phase 2 pull back again. Can it pull back into this resistance before continuing lower? That's the only kind of trade I'm really interested on Euro Swiss. Pound Oz as well. Obviously, we're in Pound Oz short. We're in a couple of shorts actually. So the first short is doing really well, which was at this neckline up here. Let me just put that back in place. Stops for around 60 points. So we're about 2.2 up on that. This is one of those where I'll be banking a little bit of money on this one today, especially where pound's at the minute as well. I'll be looking just to bank a little bit of money on this one. Move your stops either above this kind of candle high or at least into this 4-hour high up here around that 1.7534. So what I'd essentially be doing is banking half of the trade, and if you don't know how to do that on MetaTrader, please just drop me a message. Essentially, we're looking for this. Please just drop me a message, and I can kind of take you through that. So essentially, all I'm going to be doing is targeting. I'd like to see this continue to make lower lows essentially, and if pound's going to start seeing a little bit of a few bulls kind of enter the market, then this market could just kind of flutter around a little bit. Again, we're in a nice trade short around here, which isn't obviously lighting up the room at the moment, but it's still technically okay. The market's still making those lower highs, and is holding its own. But I'd just like to see some bulls really take out these lows and close lower. That would really be good for this current trade as well. But the highlight really is the one from up here. That one's pretty much flying. So if you want to bank at least 1% or 1.5% on this one, bring your stops to break even. If you took this trade from up here, that would be absolutely fine. And then continue just to watch this chart every 4 hours. If we do get a bullish momentum pushing up, we do have the moving averages there that it's got to contend with as well. This would be our key highs. So if we are wrong and it does take out our highs there, then at the end of the day we're wrong, and we have to just be prepared to lose a trade. I think at the moment everything is okay. Obviously the only thing that concerned me was this big bearish this kind of bullish sentiment here on pound Oz, which was the only thing that really concerned me. But overall, we're still in that phase one on a weekly downtrend. We have a high here, a low point, a lower high, and this created it's a little bit of a lower low. Obviously, we want to see it close below the previous structure low, which would be here. And this week could be the driver for that, with the inflation hearings and things like that. What I don't want us to be caught in is a change in trend, essentially, and that would typically look like the market is continuing its downtrend. So you can see that we've got our lower lows, lower highs, and typically the market will come back down to a point. We're looking at here at the minute, and then find some bulls to really take the market higher. That's not what we want to happen, obviously, because we're in this short. So for me, this area here is going to be pretty key, where we're sort of at the moment. If we can push lower and close lower and head towards these lows, that'll be fantastic, and we can look to just take some more profits. But the likelihood of what I'm going to do this evening anyway would be to kind of bank some profits again on the first trade. If you cover that, then at least you're going to walk away with is 1.5% if we look to move our stops to break even by the end of the evening. Aussie yen. Now this is why I still think we're going to see some Aussie momentum to the long side. Now if I just bring in the weekly chart. Now I've been talking about this consolidation on Aussie yen for a long time, so you can see if I just bring up my screen sketch again. I wish I had something that just drew on the chart straight away. If you guys have any recommendations, let me know. But essentially what we had was this really nice double top pattern on the weekly chart. We've broken through, we tested it nicely, and started to move to the downside, but then it got stuck in this consolidation between the neckline and this sort of support level down around the 80 level. Now we've closed back in that consolidation on the weekly chart. Now to me that suggests that we have a potential to move back within this consolidation range. Okay, so it's almost like we had the first touch, second touch, third touch, back into those previous structure highs, and then continue back down. So with this chart in particular, I like the idea of maybe buying Aussie yen. It's a little bit controversial because obviously we were looking at that yen strength, and we are technically trading the range at this point. So looking at the 4-hour chart again, I'm looking for higher highs and higher lows, and if we just bring in here, I would need to see some momentum, push it higher, make the higher close. So essentially I'd want to see price break out of these highs all up through here, close higher, come back down, retest, and then look for the continuation trades. Again, this would be one-to-one trading because we are in this consolidation and it could easily change. The kind of immediate resistance we have is this 82 level with these sorts of resistance points just up there. So, you know, but ultimately I'll be targeting one-to-ones on this market. You know, if we can get to one-to-ones, then, you know, happy days. You know, we're taking 2% out of a market that's in a range. But, you know, at the end of the day, what we need to do is identify the market condition we're in so we can adapt our trade management around that. So if we're in a trending market, then happy days, we can target 2, 3, 4-to-ones. We can look for those bigger support areas. You know, if we're not in a trend at all, then we've got to look for, you know, the one-to-ones, you know, because markets can easily turn around pretty quickly. You know, so just be aware of what market condition you're in. So are you in a downtrend phase 1? Are you in a downtrend phase 2? Or are you in an uptrend phase 1? Or are you in an uptrend phase 2? Because if you can identify those points, then you can manage your trade management around it, essentially. Other markets to be aware of. This video is going to be a little bit long, so I apologise if I've been kind of droning on a little bit. But Euro Yen was on my list to look for a potential short opportunity. I like 127.50s, 127.40s as an area to look for shorts. So I'm not going to be buying this market because obviously I still believe Euro is a little bit weak. So I'm not going to be buying this market at all. You know, I'm just going to let the market play out. Essentially, if it comes into this 127.40, great, I'll look for the short. If it doesn't, so be it. Pound yen as well, obviously we're getting that consolidation, so we could see a pop back up into this 143 area, so that's just something to be aware of. So yeah, again, if we look at the 4-hour chart on pound yen, it's starting to kind of create this really nice squeeze pattern at the moment, where the market really tries to let me just make that a little bit neater, apologies. Is really kind of squeezing into what I call, like, you know, it's almost like squeezing the tube of toothpaste, you know, and we could see a breakout. So if we do see a push higher, again, into new higher highs on a 4-hour chart, then I'll be looking for those one-to-one counter trend moves. If it doesn't, then, you know, again, we're going to just wait for the phase ones to play out. So, you know, largely we're in a downtrend, we're creating lower lows, lower highs, but, you know, at the end of the day, the market moves in waves, and I don't want to be trading necessarily for the longer term in a phase 2. Aussie Swiss was on my list for potential long opportunities, but, you know, we have to be aware that we're in a downtrend in this market as well. There's a nice little bit of resistance up at 7.320s. So if I just jump to the 4-hour chart, you can see these higher highs, higher lows. I've got an alert set at 7.320 for continuation. So again, if Aussie starts hitting these resistance levels across the kind of cross pairs, then you know, we have to look to manage our trades. I'd rather take, you know, maybe 1.5, 2% out of the market than nothing at all at the end of the day. So just be aware of what you're trying to achieve with your trades. Obviously, if we go back to pound Oz, we're trying to achieve a little bit lower down into this kind of 7.3. 1.73s. If we go to Euro Oz, obviously we're looking to target these sorts of daily lows down into 1.5460. So just be aware of that. You know, I'd like to see a break lower on this again, but again, just be aware of what's happening. Let the market tell you what needs to be done, okay, and show you what needs to be done. Gold, you know, I expect higher prices in gold now. If we look a bit bullish, you know, we had some buyers really step back into the market as it hit the lows of 1.1160s. So if I just jump back to the daily chart again, we're in a phase 2. The only thing I will be looking for is potential buying opportunities into $1,200 again. One-to-one trading only. 4-hour looks good at the moment. We're creating, you know, we had a high point in here, higher low, higher high. If we get the chance for a potential trade on this, we could look for a little one-to-one risk to reward trade on this one for potential intraday trades. The other one that interests me at the minute is Brent crude. If I just go to the weekly chart, I'll show you why. We did have this double top, and the market has failed to create a lower low, lower close. It pushed down here, closed above, pushed down here again, closed above, pushed down here, closed above, pushed down into these structure high points, closed above. So are we going to see some kind of buyers step back into the oil market? It's one of those where price action's kind of telling me one thing. I know there's been a couple of news announcements recently, and a bit of data saying that there's a bit of an oversupply in oil. So if there's an oversupply, usually we see lower prices. Now we've got this bit of a squeeze pattern, and there's one or two things that I'd like to look for. Again, I want to be a trend-based trader. If I'm trading with the overall trend, then I'm more likely to be successful. So if the market does break lower, breaks this 70 area, closes below this, then I'm going to be looking for those continued short trades. Even though I think that the market's squeezing around here and we could see further upside, I've still got to look at two sides of the coin. And if it does break lower, then I've got opportunities to trade short. If we break this CTL, we break above previous structure highs, which just comes in around this 73.50 area, then okay, I can look for the long trades in line with my overall bias, maybe back into these previous structure highs just up here. But again, be aware, I say again a lot, but be aware of what's going on in the market. What is price action telling you? Okay. The only other market that I quite like is the Dow. So that will come up as US 30 on your charts. We're back into this resistance level where we saw a big sell-off before. We are creating higher highs at the moment. So I'm not suggesting that we're going to get a big sell-off again. All I'm suggesting is that we could break above this previous high point in here. And if we do break above, close above, and get the trend trading conditions, we could look for the market to pull back into this level and continue back into those kind of all-time highs. Again, just up at that 26620. Okay, so that's all for now, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you in the webinar tonight. If you're watching this on YouTube for the first time, because that's where I'm going to kind of upload it, so it's easy to watch for our members. If you are interested in joining the Live Traders Club, then please go to www.tradeandtrain.com. And you can sign up there. So there's no kind of obligation in terms of subscription. You don't have to stay with us for 12 months or anything like that. It's if you like it, you can stay. If you don't, you can leave. So hope you've enjoyed this video, and I'll see you tomorrow.